I was 8 years old when my mother decided to turn my life into a lesson. Not the kind you forget by the next morning. The kind that brands itself into your bones. It happened on a Tuesday, because bad things always seem to happen on the most ordinary days. I remember the sky first. It was too blue, the kind of bright, open sky that makes you think nothing bad could possibly happen under it. The sun sat high, glaring off the windshield of my mom's old beige sedan, making me squint from the back seat. The vinyl burned the backs of my legs through my shorts, and the air smelled like gasoline and hot rubber even before we stopped. "Mom," I said, tugging at my seatbelt, "are we almost home?" She didn't answer right away. Her jaw was tight, lips pressed into a thin line. One hand gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles were white. I already knew she was mad. She'd been mad since that morning. I'd spilled cereal on the floor. I'd been slow tying my shoes. I'd forgotten my math folder at school the day before. Little things, always little things. With my mother, little things stacked up like crimes. She finally pulled off the highway into a gas station I'd never seen before. It sat alone, surrounded by long stretches of road and fields that looked endless to my 8-year-old eyes. No houses, no playgrounds, just a flickering sign, a convenience store with dark windows, and the steady roar of cars flying past on the highway. "Get out," she said suddenly. "What?" I froze. "Get out of the car," she repeated, sharper now. My stomach dropped. "Why?" She slammed the car into park. "Because you need to learn how to pay attention. You need to learn how to think." I didn't understand. I was 8. I didn't know what lesson required leaving your child somewhere strange. She reached back and unbuckled my seatbelt herself, her fingers rough and impatient. She opened my door, and hot air rushed in, carrying the heavy smell of gas. "Go stand over there," she said, pointing toward the edge of the station near the trash cans. Tears burned my eyes. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'll be good, I promise." She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Let's see if she can find her way home," she muttered, more to herself than to me. Before I could say anything else, before I could grab the door or scream or understand what was happening, she closed it. The lock clicked. The engine roared. And then she drove away. At first, I thought it was a joke. My mom liked cruel jokes. She liked watching me panic and then telling me I was too sensitive. So I stood there, frozen, clutching the strap of my little pink backpack, watching her car disappear into traffic. I waited for the brake lights to flash. I waited for the car to slow down and turn around. It didn't. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The wind pushed against me, carrying the sound of engines and the smell of fuel. A man walked past me, pumping gas, not even looking in my direction. To him, I was just another kid. I walked closer to the road, heart pounding. "Mom," I yelled, my voice small and thin against the noise of the highway. No answer. That's when the fear hit. Real fear. The kind that starts in your chest and spreads until your hands shake and your throat feels tight. I suddenly understood something I'd never understood before. She wasn't coming back. I sat down on the curb and hugged my knees, trying not to cry because crying made her mad. Even when she wasn't there, the habit stayed. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know how to get home. I didn't even know our address. I just knew what the house looked like, the way kids do. Cars kept coming and going. People went in and out of the store. No one stopped. No one asked if I was okay. Hours felt like years. The sun started to dip, and the sky slowly turned orange. That's when I finally broke down. I cried hard, loud, the kind of crying that leaves your chest aching. A woman with tired eyes and a work uniform finally noticed me. "Hey, sweetie," she said gently. "Where's your mom?" My throat closed. She left. The woman's face changed. "Left where?" "Here." She crouched down in front of me, her voice careful. "How long have you been here?" "I don't know," I whispered. She stood up fast and waved toward the store. "Rick, call someone now." That's when everything moved too fast. Police cars, questions, a blanket wrapped around my shoulders even though it wasn't cold, a juice box pressed into my hands. "Do you know your mother's phone number?" an officer asked kindly. I shook my head. "Your address?" I shook it again. I felt stupid, small, like I'd failed some test I didn't even know I was taking. They took me to a building with bright lights and hard chairs, a place that smelled like coffee and disinfectant. I sat with my feet dangling off the chair, swinging back and forth, watching adults whisper. Hours later, long after the sky had turned black, my mother finally appeared. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't crying. She was angry. "There she is," she said, arms crossed. I knew she'd be fine. The officer stared at her. "Ma'am, do you understand that leaving a child like that is abandonment?" She scoffed. "Oh, please, I was gone a few hours. She needs to toughen up." I looked at the floor. The officer's voice hardened. "A few hours is more than enough time for something terrible to happen." My mother rolled her eyes. "You people are so dramatic." That was the first time I saw adults look at my mom the way I secretly felt about her. Like she was dangerous. They let her take me home that night. No apology, no hug, no explanation. Just silence in the car, thick and heavy. When we got home, she turned to me, her eyes cold. "Don't you ever embarrass me like that again," she said. "If you had just stayed where I told you and stopped crying, none of this would have happened." I nodded, because that's what I'd learned to do. Agree. Shrink. Survive. But something inside me changed that day. A small crack formed in my heart, one that whispered a truth I wouldn't fully understand until years later. I was on my own. The gas station wasn't the last time my mother disappeared from me. After that, she started leaving in quieter ways. She forgot to pick me up from school. She lost track of time when I waited outside dance class. She disappeared emotionally, sitting inches away but miles gone. By 10, I knew how to cook my own meals. By 12, I knew how to lie to teachers. By 14, I stopped asking for rides altogether. People used to say, "Your mom is so independent. She raised you to be strong." They were wrong. She raised me to expect abandonment. And somewhere deep inside, a promise began to form, one I didn't yet have words for. One day, she would know what it felt like to be left behind. I left home at 17 with one backpack and a promise to myself. I didn't tell my mother goodbye. She was asleep on the couch when I slipped out, TV flickering blue light across her face, an empty wine glass balanced on the armrest. For a moment, I stood there watching her chest rise and fall, wondering if she'd even notice I was gone. She didn't. I know because she didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't come looking. 3 days later, a voicemail finally came through. "Where are you?" she snapped. "You don't just disappear like that." I listened to it once, then I deleted it. Life didn't magically get better after that. It got harder, just in different ways. I worked nights at a diner, mornings at a grocery store. I slept on friends' couches, sometimes in my car. I learned how to stretch $20 into a week and how to smile when customers talked down to me. But for the first time, every step forward was mine. No one could leave me somewhere anymore. I was already walking. Years passed. I went to community college, then transferred to a state university. I studied business, not because I loved it, but because I wanted control. Control over my money, my future, my life. By 26, I had my own apartment. By 29, I had my own company. By 32, I had something I never imagined as a scared 8-year-old on a curb. Security. People called me driven, resilient, impressive. They didn't see the little girl inside me who still hated gas stations. My mother, on the other hand, stayed exactly the same. Except the world stopped forgiving her. Her friends drifted away. Her job let her go. Her health began to fail. She called more often then. At first, I didn't answer. Then one night, curiosity won. Her voice was smaller, weaker. "I need help," she said. "You're my daughter." I closed my eyes. The word daughter felt strange in her mouth. "What do you need?" I asked carefully. "I'm behind on rent," she said quickly. "Just until I get back on my feet." I thought of the gas station. The heat. The waiting. "I can help," I said slowly. Relief flooded her voice. "I knew you would. But there are conditions." Silence. "You'll come see me," I continued. "And you'll listen, no interrupting, no excuses." She scoffed. "You're being dramatic." "Then the answer is no." Another silence, longer this time. "Fine." She came to my office a week later. She looked older than I remembered, smaller. Her hair was thinner, her clothes worn, but her eyes, those were the same. Sharp, defensive. She sat across from me, arms crossed, just like the night the police brought me back. "So," she said, "what do you want to say?" I leaned forward. "Do you remember leaving me at that gas station?" Her jaw tightened. "I told you that was nothing, you survived." "Yes," I said calmly. "I did without you." She laughed bitterly. "You're still holding on to that. I was trying to teach you a lesson." "You taught me one," I replied, "that I couldn't rely on you." Her face hardened. "I fed you, housed you." "You abandoned me," I said. "Over and over, that was the lesson." She opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. For the first time, she looked uncertain. "I was 8, I continued. "I waited for you. I thought something was wrong with me. I spent my life trying to be unleavable." Her eyes flicked away. I slid a folder across the desk. Inside was a check, enough to cover her rent for 3 months. "And after that?" she asked quietly. "After that," I said, "you'll figure it out like I did." Her head snapped up. "You can't just leave me." I met her gaze, steady and calm. "I can," I said, "and I am." She stared at me, realization dawning too late. This wasn't revenge with yelling or cruelty. This was consequence. A month later, she tried calling again. I didn't answer. 3 months later, I heard she moved into a small apartment far from the city, alone. People asked if I felt guilty. I didn't, because I didn't leave her helpless. I left her with exactly what she gave me, a chance to survive on her own. Last year, I stopped at a gas station on a long drive. The smell still hit me. The sound of cars rushing past still made my chest tighten. But I didn't feel small anymore. I stood there, breathing in the air, feeling the solid ground beneath my feet. I had found my way home a long time ago. Not to her. To myself. The end.